ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm Nick McDaniel. He's Myron Fancher. How the heck are you, man?
I'm sad, Nick. I'm sad. I did not receive my invitation to watch the Vince McMahon documentary with Sasha Banks. Apparently, she had quite the plan.
She had a party going on, man. That's what it seemed like. But, we're going to get into that a little bit, man. And you know what I was thinking? Maybe, possibly, after we're done, maybe we do something over there on our Patreon and YouTube channels, kind of behind the paywall, taking a deep dive into that at patreon.com/tappedoutpod or tappedoutpod.com. And, it'd be kind of cool because, look, not only having that type of a conversation, but you get the show early. We get the extra stuff we're putting up there. Hey, I like the feedback. People are appreciating the show notes being in there because a couple people are like, hey, y'all didn't talk about this. I was like, yeah, we told you that's why we're putting them there because sometimes that stuff happens.
Most valuable investment in sports entertainment.
Could be. I mean, look, like I said, you get the show early, get the bonus content, get some new stuff that we got working. A lot of cool stuff, but we're going to go into the mailbag, this weekend. Dude, before we start, do you want to talk about this thing that I had to sit through last night real quick? This Exotic Youth, Exotic Truth podcast?
I watched that. It was tough at times. You're probably the most fair and balanced person I've ever dealt with. You're like a judge. I would want you to do any murder case I was involved in. I guess as a murderer, not as a victim. But I would trust you for anything. And they picked you as a wonderful host. Not host, moderator. It was a great show. And
they chose me, and then they were giving me grief.
They gave you grief. Now, Bryce Cannon apparently nowadays has resorted to being a host of a midget wrestling show. I saw that, and I discredit some of his capabilities now as a person to talk about professional wrestling on the internet. But maybe it was. Hold on, was that little fellow? Was he one of the midgets that are going to be wrestling? Pepper Bottom.
Pepper Bottom. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe.
But it was interesting. I would watch it again. As usual, Gary Lamb is the charismatic enigma. Gary Lamb.
Yeah. I would look. I just like, man, you brought me on here. I was doing you a favor, and then you're going to give me grief about it. And, I mean, look, but hey, if nothing else good, hey, well, what did come out of it? Yes. Looks like we're going to get Gary Lamb versus Exotic Youth here, at Still Here 6 in a couple of weeks. So
can we get a shark cage? Plus.
That's where they should lock Pepper Bottom up in, as in a dog crate. So that would be fun. But look, man, without further ado, we got a ton of stuff to get into. So let's just jump right into the questions, man. It's been a while since we did the mailbag, so we figured we got to jump into this. And so
our bag is open, and we got a question from Nashville, Tennessee. I like Nashville a lot. My brother and my sister-in-law went to school there. Jackson from Nashville wants to know, are you guys eager to watch the Mr. McMahon documentary on Netflix? Well, you've already started, so I guess you're eager.
Yeah, the wife had to get up, and she left the house at 4 or something this morning. I had trouble going back to sleep, so I went ahead and started it. And look, I only got partially the way through episode 1. I didn't get all the way through it, obviously. In a lot of that episode, there wasn't a ton of new stuff, if you've been around wrestling for a while or kind of following it. I've read, I haven't gotten there yet, but I did read there's something new about the Montreal Screwjob that you're going to learn. And I was like, I didn't even think that was possible. Like, we've heard so much junk on that thing over the years. Like, it just cannot be new. So I'm eager to see what it is, because I just,
I mean, how could Bret Hart not tell us everything about the Montreal Screwjob?
There's stuff maybe that wasn't on his side.
I mean, wouldn't it have to be in hieroglyphics to not come out by now?
If it was, here's the only thing I can think of. It has something to do, like, that only Vince and, like, one other person, or something, like they're not talking.
I'm just not that excited to watch this whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it. but I think it's going to be like a painful walk down memory lane, or getting my past touched by Pat Patterson, if you get what I'm
It's
saying.
going to be taint. It's going to mess with your history. Yeah. I mean, for sure. I'm probably going to burn through it in a couple days. I mean, I really am. Here's the thing. It's got such a, over the last few days, we've learned things like, people saying like, hey, this is not going to end well for, as far as like Vince McMahon specifically, but even a little bit of a sting to the WWE in some ways at the,
Why?
like so bad that, like, here's the thing. Vince tried to buy this thing back, like after the fact. Like I'm wondering if that's what he sold all the stock for, was to try to come up with enough cash to buy this thing back. And you know what I don't understand is, it's funny, you hear these people talking about, like, Bischoff brought up, like, he doesn't, and I don't agree. I mean, I don't understand it either. You just invested $5 billion in a partnership with WWE, and yet you're going to release this when, Bischoff is like, look, there are tons of projects that Netflix funded that they just scrapped and put them on the shelf, and they just never have seen the light of day. Like, they just decide, like, oh, it's a loss. They just write it off as a loss and just scrap the project and say it's not worth it. Why would you not do that to this when you have all of this, partnership, going?
Is it worth more than $5 billion? Is that what this thing is? I don't understand why they would do it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but unless there's something at the end, some kind of magical ending where everything looks great for the WWE now that Vince is gone. There's some kind of rainbow and fairy tale at the end that makes the WWE look.
So I won't spoil it for you, and I'm not going to spoil it, like, for any, because, like, look, this thing's only been out a couple hours, but I saw an article, which I shouldn't have read, that basically tells how it ends. Yeah, it doesn't end well. Like, it's not a good look when it's over. Like, it's not. So my curiosity was just that of, like, that's why I keep coming back to why do this? Now, again, human nature, like, we're going to watch because we want to see what it is, that to how they paint that picture. But yeah, I just it's, Jackson, I just can't wrap my head around, like, why this thing is even seeing the light of day, knowing how everybody's talking. I mean, Conrad has said he had seen a couple episodes, a preview, or he knew some people that had, and they're like, look, this is not a good look. And hey, I will side note this. So I'm watching through it. The only thing that kind of did, like, throw me for a loop, Dave Meltzer's on there, and he said something. No, you're going to get a kick out of this. This is actually a positive that you'll react. He basically said Vince was going to win the territory battle, whatever, because he was going to choose characters and stories over wrestling, and that's what most people want. That's what that's what fans want for the most part. And I'm like, so hold on a second.
Whoa.
So your whole ranking system is completely measured in the other direction, but yet you're acknowledging the fact that this is what, like, the fans want. So how does that make any sense?
I don't understand Dave Meltzer now. I've always thought he would. I'm at a loss for words, Nick.
Let me ask you this then. So I'll let you gather your words here. So is he acknowledging the fact his whole system, his star rater system, is just, I listen to the sarcasm here, folks. Is he acknowledging the fact that his entire star rating system is just based on what he likes and not what the mass casual fan base wants, and is just completely overrated at this point by, the IWC in general?
Well, he basically admits that, well, that doesn't sell tickets. It's great to watch, but it doesn't sell tickets
to the masses, right? Like, it's like, this is not a mass appeal item. Like, it's match quality. Entertainment and character and storyline override match quality, and that's what the masses want. That's, like, basically, I'm paraphrasing a lot there, but that's essentially what I took out of his statements on there on episode 1, by the way. So that's not huge spoiler. You'll get it pretty quick, and when it happens, I just think that blew me away.
Great matches are phenomenal, but they have to be set up with a storyline that makes you care about them. Two guys off the street having a great match really doesn't matter to me.
A cold match, no backstory. And I throw them in there, the great match, and everybody's like, hey. And then, literally by the time, half the time, when you get home, you forgot about it. Yeah. So, anyway.
Who's this Bill Simmons guy that's executive producer?
So, it's kind of irony. This is how full circle in Nick's world, right? So, he is an executive producer on the show, But you guys at this point have heard me mention the movie podcast, The Rewatchables. It's his Bill Simmons podcast network is the one that he's like the main host for The Rewatchables.
Oh.
He does a lot of sports stuff as well, but he's a big wrestling guy. Hence, he's been working on this project for years. On this week's episode, he actually discussed, like, it's finally coming. Like, it's, this project he's been working on for years is coming out, and it was the Vince McMahon documentary, which was kind of Mr. McMahon documentary, which is kind of cool. That two parallel were like, I listened to this podcast, and it was kind of. So if you're not listening to the Rewatchables, you should be. This week's episode was Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh. Now, a quick question, and this is going to be ridiculous sounding. Is this about Mr. McMahon, the character, or Vince McMahon, or did Vince McMahon become Mr. McMahon?
That's $1 million question. We'll have to see. Like, go ahead and watch it all the way through. I think that's what you're going to find out is a lot more about, like, what this document. And obviously, we all think at this point what it started as, because Vince agreed to it. Remember, we got to remember, Vince agreed to this. This was pre-accusations and everything. And I can't even imagine it didn't just take a massive left turn when all those things started happening. I think they probably had a vision for it, and then when everything happened, it went whoop, and went a different route.
Well, I'm sure there was a lot of people ready to come out and tell stories about Vince.
Look, controversy creates cash, and I think that's what they're cashing in on. Maybe that, like, look, it's because here's the thing. And I'll ask you this: the only reason I can justify in my head this thing's coming out. Hear me out, guys. I'm not saying this is the case. I'm asking a question. If God forbid, if everything comes out and Vince McMahon is cleared of everything, and they've made this documentary, is it as valuable because the controversy creates the cash? Are they just cashing in on the opportunity of now's the time to cash in on it? Everybody's going to watch it, but if he's cleared of everything and we spent all this time putting this narrative about the accusations in it and he's cleared, then does it become a project that you just say, I'll just scrap it at that point? Strike while the iron's hot.
Well, also, I mean, it's September. WB doesn't premiere till January 1st. People forget stuff today. People might not even remember this when the WWE comes out. And also, maybe it'll draw views. Who knows? Maybe
they're just drawing excitement to try to get people to watch the content when they get it on their channel.
Yeah.
Start getting WWE stuff like the mindset and wrestler, hey, you've got to sign up for Netflix to get it. Because here's the thing. If you sign up in October, it's September, when it's, you sign up in October, late September, October to get Netflix. Well, we ride out November, December, and then January 1, Raw's here. So we'll just kind of stay on for a couple of months or whatever.
Bad press is better than no press.
Well, that's what they say. I don't know how I agree with that all the time, but that's what they say. So,
well, speaking of good press, this is some good news. I guess it's good news we heard. Our friend Michael from Orlando, Florida, home of the Performance Center. Do you like the idea of the Lucha Brothers going straight to the main roster? Well, they're certainly qualified, Michael. What do you think, Nick?
1,000%. I mean, 1,000%. Here's why, and I'll ask you see if you agree here. NXT is developmental, like with an exclamation at this point. And I know there's some super talented, young talent down there. I get it. But how many tag teams can really keep up with that pace and the style that they wrestle down there?
No, nobody. I don't think many people can. And the tag teams down there are goofy gimmick tag teams. Chase U. Okay, Chase U. That's the stupid, except for the Mafia gimmick. That's the stupidest gimmick they have down there. We've actually heard the Chase U gimmick from an insider. I think they would be lost on that roster. Their talent would be wasted on that roster as far as just the unseriousness of it. I don't think that's a good word.
I think they're one here. I mean, I don't even know. Here's a good question. I would love to know the demo of the Hispanic audience on the CW. If it had a massive demo, then maybe it would be worthwhile putting them there. That's something I'd really literally just thought of. But we also know that putting them on, whether it's We don't know essentially Raw or SmackDown where they're going to be. Part 2, here's a question for you, Myron. Would you put them on the same show as the LWO, or would you put them on the opposite show as the LW? Like, would you try to kind of have like two distinct, like, to try to draw a Hispanic audience on both, different brands?
Well, the thing is, you're going to WB is concerned about this Hispanic audience because they have a significant Hispanic roster. They've got a large, and the most is how is Dom the most successful Hispanic wrestler they have? And then you look at Damian Priest. They've got some big name Hispanic wrestlers, and we're not just talking about the LWO and the rest of them. So I hate to speak about demographics I'm not a part of, but these guys would pump a lot of energy into that. And the CW might not be where they go for it at. This might be something they want on the bigger shows.
Well, they're clearly going. Look, they're going straight to the main roster per the Source Brothers. I mean, that's what everybody says, right? They're going there. But I just kind of was like, the tag team division in general, in my opinion, I don't think it's at its. I'm not saying it's weak, but it ain't strong. I mean, like, it has its moments where you're kind of like, how about this? It needs some new blood into it, for one. And I think that's, instead of trying to, like, hey, we're going to bring up another team from NXT and try to develop them, I think you're just like, hey, let's throw these guys in the mix. Day one, they're credible, and they're off to the races. And by the way, I think I pitched to you a little bit of an idea of why they go to the main roster off the air before we recorded. And I'm like, I don't know. How about merch?
Oh, yeah.
Fans buy Rey Mysterio masks left and right. You think they're not going to embrace that? They're going to want these Lucha Brothers masks too? Like, it's going to happen, dude. Like, it's kind of crazy if you think it's not going to.
I wish, and this is the thing, as far as my Bullet Bob mask too, I wish they made masks in like big head sizes, because I can't get them on this massive noggin of myself. I guess I'm going to have to lose weight just with the.
I think the only mask they make our sizes is that Blob. Remember the movie from Billy Madison? I think is the name of whatever. Like, that's the only that's the only mask.
I just wear feed sacks with the eyes cut out. But yeah, it's good. It's a good merchandising deal. We're going to get to see a team that is phenomenal and also not used to their full capacity. So we're going to get to see them used to their full capacity.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the only thing I'm super excited about, the thing that just made me just, I don't know, Friday on SmackDown, our good buddy Elijah from Atlanta, our hometown, basically. What are your thoughts on the Roman Cody video on SmackDown? Well, I would have loved to have seen that at Sanford Stadium. This is a Georgia Tech stadium. But Roman played for Georgia Tech. And these guys are now action heroes. Holy crap. You talk about intense.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed something. Maybe I'm too involved in wrestling. Maybe I'm biased, but I thought those guys did an Oscar-worthy performance, Nick. How about
Dude, I 100% agree. Absolute cinema is the way I tried to phrase it. Look, I heard, that Heyman was kind of involved a little in the creative part of it. Yeah. Borash was kind of in it because Jeremy Borash, Hidden Gem, down there and doing a lot of this kind of stuff for them. I think tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let us know if you agree with this statement. I think we need more of this. And I think we're going to see more of this.
Yeah, especially on Netflix.
That's it, man. Going to Netflix and embracing the movie side and the theatrical side of it. You want a sidebar? I'll ask you this. I genuinely believe, because we've heard of like other projects like to kind of get in, content for Netflix. I think people were starting to like the negativity side of the like less house shows, less live events. My argument to that is doing less shows, it lightens the workload, the schedule these guys have. By the way, it also lightens up the number of guys you kind of have to burning through those live shows as well. So what it opens up is opportunities. Netflix is in the content business.
Yes.
They want movies. They want action movies. They want comedies, etc. Biggest thing is usually, hey, we got to have a talent that's willing to do this movie at a price that makes it budget worth, to do on Netflix or whatever. When they saw that, if anybody at Netflix is watching that clip, they're going, hey, there's two guys we can do a pretty good, a decent budget movie with that we can just run straight to Netflix, like content. They have a roster. WWE / let's convert it now. TKO has a roster of actors, and that are athletic. They can take the punishment. They're used to working in front of live crowds. They don't, rehearsals and tapes and multiple takes and all that kind of. I mean, those guys will be like, this when they get multiple takes. This is what you get. What you saw on Friday.
I mean, this has got to be better than Tropic of Thunder and some of those other things they put Hogan in over the years.
Don't you dare besmirch the great name of the Tropic Thunder movie, okay? That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. We will not have that.
But seriously, if you're going to put guys into movies, I think now is the greatest time there is as far as your quality of talent, your ability with the Netflix deal, your ability with the multimedia ability WWE has. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan, to see your heroes in other mediums.
Right. You take a guy like The Miz, who was knocking out those, Marine movies straight to DVD. Well, now they're straight to Netflix, but it also keeps him in front of, what I mean? It's like, hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Like, hey, we'll help you make because they're already under roster. So they're just like, hey, you want to make a movie? Sure, I want to make a movie. So Roman Reigns is in a feature film where he's the main guy. The budget's affordable. Netflix puts it out. Oh, but then there's the masses watching it, and the women are going to go like, who's that guy? And then they're going to be like, oh, he's a wrestler. Oh, who's he wrestle for? Because I want to watch that. Like, Cody Rhodes, good-looking dude. Put him in a movie or blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, he's buddies with Stephen Amell. He might be able to talk into doing the movie with him. Stuff like that. Like, you get creative. I think it takes it from where in the past, I don't mean this disrespectful to like The Miz and that, making those movies, but now you can have the flexibility of going, Roman's going to take 3 months, which he does anyway, but he's Roman's going to take 3 months off and go make a movie. He's going to come back. Cody, Randy, or insert all these top tier guys that they're just like, they could do this. And at least it's an opportunity. So I think, the more you see of this, it's the more people like. Tell me you don't think there's somebody at Netflix that has watched. And look, and I get it; it's not your cup of tea. I totally understand that. But there's somebody at Netflix that sees those Bray Wyatt the Wyatt 6 segments and goes, "We could do like a horror movie with that."
Possibly, yeah.
Possible. But horror movies are not super expensive to make. You can make it on a really low budget with those guys and those characters, and then just throw it on Netflix. Some people are going to binge watch it.
No need for making DVDs, which was always one of the greatest, expenses. No need for putting it out on a network. No need to going through all this other stuff. Netflix handles that for you. Straight out there, streaming to the masses. Streaming. And
people, by the way, underestimate. I watch what I want to. Do you, though? How many times have you loaded up your Netflix and right there, like the spotlight, the movies or the TV shows that are spotlighted, you go like, oh, that looks interesting, and you play it. All they got to do is go, hey, put that new horror movie in there where everybody sees. It's either a featured movie or it's one of the spotlight movies or it's recommended for you.
But they got you now. If you watch wrestling on Netflix, then they find that in your queue. They roll the wrestling movies on Netflix. Click,
recommended for you. That's it. Like they're recommended for you.
Before long, they got your number.
Yeah.
But if they got wrestling streaming on Netflix, what's Tony Khan going to do? And our good friend Mason from Chicago, Illinois asked, what do you guys take from Tony Khan's comments that Max should be part of the deal with Warner Brothers Discovery? Come on, Nick. Streaming. Different channel, different program, different wrestling. What we going to do?
Look, I honestly, here's the funny thing is that didn't we assume, like we had this conversation last week or the week whenever we talked about it, we just assumed that Max had to be a component of it. Let's first of all, let's go under the premise it is. Then the questions start. Is it live streaming those, like Dynamite and so hey, we didn't discuss, since the kind of come out that the rumor is Rampage is going to go away. That they're going to kill the Friday, like that's it'll be Dynamite and Collision is what basically TBS, TNT, True TV, whatever Warner Bros. Discovery has. So are they going to have live streaming of those shows? Is it going to be a delay? Is the content going to be on there after the fact? Is it pay-per-views? Like that's the second we think we have these answers, like it's just more questions pop up of like.
I keep changing the questions. Roddy Piper isn't involved in this, unfortunately. I think it's got to be down to Tony Khan. And there are so many questions about streaming services as far as wrestling and pay-per-views. Now, you went into a math deal with me prior to the show explaining things. And pay-per-views are a big deal for AEW. That's where they put their money, and that's where, to me, their best content is.
Correct.
I could care less about the weekly shows. And I'm not a match quality guy, but if I want to watch a good wrestling show, just good wrestling, I'll watch a pay-per-view because that's where they put their strength.
They, without fail, I always stand behind the fact they deliver on pay-per-view. It just seems like that's their strength. And the math you talked about was like, look, I am underestimating. There's an asterisk right here on our show. I'm telling you, I underestimated, in my opinion. I did it for a reason. If they do 12 pay-per-views a year at $50 and they do 100,000 buys, I know on some are 125, 130. There's more. Again, I'm underestimating. It was around $60 million roughly. It's kind of like what we were looking at. Like, okay, this is their, underestimated revenue for pay-per-views per year. That's a lot of money. So the question became, if they are putting the, kind of like Peacock, which we probably will get into in a second, but if you put the pay-per-views on Max and you're just giving them away part of the Max service, then don't you got to go like, hey, then Warner Brothers Discovery, we need, $60 million, as a starting price. Like, we can't take less than that because that's what we're giving up. So my argument was, and I don't think it does, by the way. I'm prefacing here. I don't think this does. But if the 170 included pay-per-views, then the TV deal, in my eyes, and you'll follow me here, is only worth 110 because you're giving up the 60 on the pay-per-view buys. So I don't know that that's a win-win. However, I want to ask you this. If it's simply like, hey, we're going to have the pay-per-views on Max available to purchase for $50 or $60, whatever whatever they're going to sell them for on there. Because, the rumor is Warner Brothers Discovery has like a 30% ownership of the company. Like, they have a piece of the pie.
Yeah, I keep hearing that.
It takes out, right? Like going to like Triller or or pay-per-view.com.
What cut do they get? What cut do these services get of the pay-per-view?
It varies, and it's all depends on the deal that you cut with them. But it's a substantial enough a deal that I think if you move it over to Max somehow and there's a purchase, it's a win-win then for Warner, because then Warner Brothers is getting a direct cut of a piece, kind of like because they're putting it out there as the distributor, basically. And then, of course, AEW maybe gets a more favorable cut on the cash that they're getting. So, and I know you, you brought up the idea of, that model just don't work. Well, my argument is
ancient model.
It's an ancient model, Myron, but we have to be fair here. Attendance is down. Ratings are all up, down, but their pay-per-view buys are pretty consistent. Like, they pretty much deliver on pay-per-view. So I think that's a source of income that they cannot give it up, because that is one of their bread and butters, in my opinion, of how they deliver. I think you can remodel it and putting it in on the Max, but I don't think you can get away with it, because any type of a deal that anybody has anymore without a streaming component, I think you're in trouble. I just don't know if it's a good model.
Extremely in trouble. I'm looking forward to seeing how this works out, but I think the whole thing is just going to be a package deal. It's going to be one big package deal where you get everything. You get the streaming for the pay-per-views. You get the television deal. It's all going to be one big package, and I hope so, because I get Max as my part of my cell phone deal. The other stuff I get, and there's a big incentive to change your cell phone service. So I think it's better than your pay-per-view model currently. And where's the library? AEW has a massive library that's just sitting.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see where it goes. I just don't know that the free option works for them right now, because I just think it's, unless there's more money. Look, we know this whole Aftershock show that may or may not happen. Look, that's another revenue source. So I think that already kind of kills the all-encompassing deal. But Aftershock, apparently, I just got the vibe it's replacing Rampage, and that's why it's going elsewhere. And you can't use the same name. They're just going to move it over and create a different name. I hope it's Ring of Honor, not AEW. But
Me
that
too.
would be,
Me too. To get some really good talents, more exposure, that would be wonderful. But this deal, why is it taking so long?
Hey, you got these. You got to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, make sure every stone is unturned.
To dot everything.
Why is
this deal taking so long?
So I'm convinced at this point they were riding out the exclusive window because they wanted to have this show on another network, and they couldn't negotiate with anybody for any other deals until they were out of that window.
But that's been they rode that deal out a long time ago.
It's only been a couple months.
And that's a long time ago, Nick. In the business
we're talking
world.
$170 million deals. This is a pretty big deal. Like,
they had whatever deal they wanted lined up prior to this ever happening. This. I don't know what's going on with this, but the fact, to me, the deal is taking so long to do is not a good sign.
I'm hoping it's the Max part, the component. Maybe is what they're working out. Because Max has got to find. We don't even know, can Max handle a pay-per-view model where you're purchasing it, because they've done live streaming, but they have the actual purchase part I haven't seen. They haven't done. So I mean, if that's what you're going, then I can see them like, hey, can you even do this before we commit? That's a huge commitment to take on if you don't have any confirmation that it can be done.
Well, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to see, and all juries are out until it happens.
I agree. But,
show me the money.
Well, look, that's all the national stuff, and you know what that means, Myron. It is time for me and you to make the drives. That is right. It is Making the Drives, brought to you by jmartinandcompany.com for all your pressure washing, window cleaning needs. Look, and this storm's going to roll through here. It's probably going to muddy up everything and make a mess. So you got to hit up jmartinandcompany.com, and they'll be able to help pressure wash, clean the house, clean the driveway, get the gutters cleaned up for you, all that good stuff. jmartinandcompany.com. Like I said, that's who we trust with our pressure washing window, whether it's residential or commercial. Make sure you hit up our buddies, jmartinandcompany.com, either on their website. I find it's easier on the Facebook page. Hit them up there, and they will get back to you again, jmartinandcompany.com.
It's been a while since I've seen the man himself at the show. He's been awful busy. Must be washing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he has been. I talked to him a while back at a show, and he was like, dude, they just been covered up at work, and that's a good thing. But look, hit them up, man, and they'll absolutely get you taken care of.
You'll never be dissatisfied with his work.
That is true. Well, man, let's jump into the shows. And look, Thursday, if you're a Patreon member, you'd be listening. It's tomorrow. But if you're just like a regular, non-member, you're out there public, it's tonight. Right there, AWE. It's at look, those guys. It's at the Fowling Warehouse. Make sure you give them a follow on AWE. They'll give you all the tips and all that kind of stuff. First, let's start with the championship match. Kenway versus Trevor Aeon for the Georgia Wrestling Crown title. Kenway's been on a run, man. I know, at the debut show, the return, the rebirth, call it what you will. He's got some history, and he's going to have a little thing going here against Owen Knight. at the next show for them. But he's got to get there. Trevor Ann's not somebody you want to sleep on, and you don't want to be looking down the road at Owen Knight to the point that you trip up and Trevor Aon takes home the gold. That would be a bad problem.
Yeah. I am so impressed with Kenway. So impressed with him. He just gets better every time I see him. And Trevor Young's been a staple of the Georgia wrestling scene for a while now, so this should be a wonderful match.
Yeah, and look, Carly Bravo, he's doing his little tour around Georgia now, where he's kind of hitting different promotions, and he's highlighting wrestling some of the best in the state, trying to give them an opportunity. We can call it whatever, I called it his Carly's hit list. He's going through, and he's kind of taking on all these talents.
This is a great chance, folks. This is a great chance to get out and see an amazing talent before he signed for a deal even bigger than Ring of Honor. So get out there and watch this guy.
Look, he's already there. He's AEW. He's Ring of Honor. He's signed up. He's signed, sealed, and different with those guys now. So he's on a roll, man.
But I'm talking about he's going to be a full-timer on a TV show every weekend or every week. So keep your eyes on this guy.
And look, he's a number one Ring of Honor tag team contender. So the infantry are. So they are crushing it, man. But look, I appreciate like what he's trying to do and give a lot of these young guys and even some of these guys that are he's paying back to Georgia what Georgia gave him in his impression, and I can't help but tip my cap to Carly Bravo. Look, Hierarchy's going to be on the show and more. Dylan Lesson, Larry Lazar, they're challenging the Hierarchy. Robin Renegade versus Maggie Lee. You were talking about how impressed you've been over the last time, a few times we've seen Robin Renegade, how she's kind of raising her game up weekend.
Robin Renegade is killing it right now. She's done some phenomenal matches. I've seen, we're getting to see her a lot at the TCW shows here in Beaufort. I've really, really been impressed with her. Actually, I've been better father. He's a real nice guy. Talking to him about just odds and ends. So, good people, good quality work. Looking forward to seeing more things out of her and her sister in the future.
Absolutely. So check them out again Thursday evening. Fouling Warehouse, AWE.
You know what
Atlanta
fouling is, Nick?
Yeah,
where you throw footballs at bowling pins.
It's a great entertainment center. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Give them a follow and check out the Fouling Warehouse. Go to their website. It's a ton of stuff you could do there, but obviously we're Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. Yeah.
You got to give them credit. They work at some of the most unique venues in Atlanta. Always have.
Yep. And so that is Thursday. Friday, let's jump into the weekend action. Speaking of Action Wrestling, is going to be running in Fayetteville at the Line Creek Bus Barn. Doors 6:30, bells at 8, and Action doing what Action do. That's what I like to say.
I love that venue too.
Yeah. Look, pending hurricane weather, I thought this one might be a good one to get out and check out potentially.
Yeah.
It's just we're gonna have to see because look, Sean Legacy versus Landon Hale. That's gonna be if you are like bell to bell in ring action. Like, this is the kind of match that you drool over. Like, this is the match you want to see. Both are top notch. Look, it's funny. We see one weekend the versatility of Sean Legacy in a Buff and Fluff tag team match. Then he goes somewhere like here, and he's going to wrestle Landon Hale and show you why he's one of the best wrestlers around. Yep. It's why he's traveling internationally, as well as just crushing it everywhere. So, absolutely, if you're a bell-to-bell person, this is absolutely 100% it. Rob Killjoy, The Wall, Top Team. How about them, dude? They're starting to get everywhere as well.
I'm a huge Rob Killjoy fan. I will go see him wherever he shows up that I can get to. The man is a phenomenal wrestler and always so cool and a joy to watch work. So,
yeah. Lots of other action right there at Line Creek Bus Barn, Fayetteville, Georgia. Like I said, doors are 6:30, bell time is 8. Action doing what Action does, man. That's just absolutely look. As much as I may in other areas of the state, Matt Griffin is kind of a little troublemaker, and does some things that he has to
I really like that guy.
He does a great show. He does a great show.
Taken me a while to get to know him, but I really like that guy.
Yeah, 1,000%. Like I said, I think he does a great job. So you do have to give him respect, without a doubt. So again, check them out there in Fayetteville. Also on Friday, Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling in Greensboro at the Oconee Brewing Company. This is kind of one of their new kind of shows, which is like, dude, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. That they're adding left and right. We joked about it on the Tapped In show that I think in October they're at 6 shows right now.
Yeah.
That they're going to be running, and that's more than some run all year.
Yeah, I continue to be impressed with this and the business sense of QT Marshall and what they're doing. And on top of it, who's your special GM? One of my all-time favorite people in the entire world. My all-time favorite people. Glacier.
Yeah, Ray Lloyd he's like, we always talk about it. He's like one of the absolute like nicest people, not just in wrestling in general. So it's a great person to get out to. Like, look, if you get a chance to go out there to the Oconee Brewing Company, get a picture, get an autograph, have a conversation. Ray Lloyd is gold. I always say that he is awesome. Look, bell time's at 7 because then the action's going to start and you're going to see. Think about this, like just on any given Turnbuckle show, QT, Brady Booker, Varia Morales, Angelica Risk, Parker Lee. Like, it's just the names go on and on of who you can potentially see there. And Turnbuckle is always, like we like to point out, it's just a fun show.
Yeah.
I have never left a Turnbuckle show that I did not feel like I didn't feel like I wasn't entertained. I always go and I'm like, dude, that was fun. And it doesn't even matter that I didn't know who was going to be on the card. I'm like, I go to those shows now knowing at least when I get out of there, I was happily just entertained.
And Varia Morales is a sure bet. Anywhere you see him on a card, he's a sure bet.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Varia Morales.
Yep.
It's hands down. I got a video sent to me that I'm going to have to air somehow. I just got to figure out how I'm going to get it aired about somebody giving their opinions of one Varia Morales. That'll be entertaining to say the least. But so again, Greensboro, Georgia, Friday, Oconee Brewing Company, bell time 7 p.m., Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. Make sure you hit them up. Look, Friday, SCA, Royston, Georgia. Yeah. It's always, like, that's like clockwork, tick, tick, tick,
I can't
tick,
praise
tick.
those guys enough, Nick. One of the biggest stories to me of the year is the fact they have continued to run for a solid year. They're starting their second year. I didn't think they'd be able to make it. I thought they were trying to do too much. But in that time, they have renovated that building. They have brought in worldwide talent with Heath Slater. They've had other promotions run in there. They've continued. Now, do they draw the biggest crowds in Georgia? No. But they draw consistent crowds. They draw loyal crowds. They have some of the best wrestling you're going to see. And of those, my boy, Xander Siebel, is killing it. He cut an amazing promo. I got to go to the show Friday. He cut a dynamite promo. That was great. That was just amazing. Jonathan Feltner, the special consultant, was praising him the other day for putting together match graphics. I went up there because he had a title match. Okay? Get this. The guy's got a title match at SCA. He's wrestling again up at Southern Honor. Most improved wrestler in Georgia. Easily. My pick. Most improved wrestler in Georgia. A guy that went from a manager to getting title matches and wrestling on what I would say is the biggest show in Georgia. But he got cheated. He got cheated by that nasty Rick Page, who I didn't realize was ring announcer at over there at Bullpen Wrestling too. But I got to see all my friends up there, and it was a real good show. But they got another show not this Friday. Do they run in this Friday, or are they waiting until October 4th?
Well, the match you're thinking about is it's the next show. They're spacing some out. They're staggering some of the things that they've got going on. Like, look, you brought it up. Like, hey, look, Rick Page can't keep his little grubs out of it. He's got to stick his nose into everything. And so, look, to get him a fair shot, what are they going to do? Where are they going to put Rick?
Shark cage, baby shark, baby shark. Page in a cage. This will be fun. This will be a lot of fun, folks. When this comes up on the 4th, you got to see Page in a cage. Good stuff going on. Fight Web. Sorry, I can't keep up with names anymore.
But
I mean, it'll be great. And what is going on with the Silva and Vane? Let me post. I need to post a correction. Last week I said Jeremy Vane. I should have said Jaden Vane. I made a mistake, and I am very sorry. That was all on me. But Jaden Vane is there. He attacked Luke Da Silva backstage. So where's that going, Nick? How is he getting in?
Yeah, that's the question. Is how he's even getting in there. So time's going to tell. We just got to see where and how and how this next stuff's going to progress. But I don't know, man. Something's got to be done. He's obviously out of control up there, and we just kind of got to figure it out over time. Things tend to work themselves out in wrestling. Yeah. That's all I can say.
Have you got to see Luke Da Silva before?
Mm-hmm.
State championship wrestler at Collins Hill. The guy is immensely talented. He has one giant muscle. I'm really hoping to see people book him in more places.
Yeah.
You got to watch him as film.
Yeah, well, man, that is Friday there in Royston. Every Friday, without fail, SCA is running. Check them out. So especially if you're in that northeast corridor, just jump on over there. Now, if you're down on the south end, our friends at Kraken Pro Wrestling are running in Tifton at the Mott Littman Gym. That is 6:30 doors, 7 o'clock is your bell time. And look, we've already mentioned him earlier. We're going to bring it up again. This is going to be, think about this. Trevor Aon's going to have a shot, at that Georgia Crown, at AWE, but he's having a hard time getting his hands on just in case and the Kraken title down there. And the business just won't stay out of his way. And he's got to figure out a way. Look, maybe there's a cage in their future or something. I don't know. But they got to figure out something, because I think Trevor Aon's got to figure out a way to get a fair shot. That's just hands down. That's kind of what we got. Also, great. By the way, yeah, the sweeper. God bless him. Guys, he's putting all of his efforts in, and not only his efforts, he's putting his cash in, and this cash in, cash out scramble that he's trying to cash in, and he's just not. He's putting a whole lot of cash in, but he ain't getting any cash out. So much so that now the guys had to he's got to ref matches to make extra money.
Sam Skaggs sent me a promo from him last night for the sweeper. I swear it was cool. It had a little bit of special effects to it. I enjoyed that. So impressed with what they're doing down there, because so many South Georgia promotions are just half-assed, and Sam is taking it down there upon himself to work his butt off. And he has sponsors, lots of sponsors. He has community involvement, which is incredibly valuable and impressive. And he puts on these good shows. This is something I'm going to have to. I've watched YouTube footage of the shows. Not got to go in and see one. But yeah, him and Huck have done some great things.
Look. Speaking of Huck and Hansen, are they going to recover from their loss this past year? They're doing great stuff behind the scenes, but they're not out. They're not having as much of a luck out front. Are they going to kind of be able to reestablish themselves as the tag team? I'm because right now you got to hand it to the business being the one, but they've been making a mockery of All-Star.
WWE too. So
who?
Oh no, they won the tag title. Sorry,
they're the tag
I apologize.
Yeah.
Myron made another mistake on this show.
So,
now the IWE belts.
But now let's see at Kraken. The business has kind of been making a mockery of them in the show. So can they come around and can they make it happen? Charlie Kills. Look, he's kind of there. Here's the thing with Charlie Kills. He's trying to put a streak together. He's kind of turning things around, and he's making some momentum. Problem is he going to be able to recover from that loss of Kevin Cantrell, who Kevin Cantrell, by the way, is a buzzsaw at Kraken right now. He's tapping out. He's just submitting guys left and right. And so that's going to become the challenge, is overcoming that. So there's lots of stuff going down at Kraken. If you have an opportunity, you're in South Georgia. Hell, if you're in North Georgia and you're just looking, the storm's going to be gone by then, guys. Hopefully the storm's going to be past at that point. Saturday night, you should be able to just head on down to Tifton, check them out at the Mott Littman Gym at Tifton. And so, look, we love those guys. We're just so personally invested in those guys. So amen to those guys for doing what they do. Speaking of which, Buckhead, Georgia Championship Wrestling, they're running their thing there in Buckhead. Mm-hmm. Doors open. Guess what, Myron? At 6:05. And the bell time. Yeah, the bell time's at 7. Look, if you're in the North Georgia area, and I know it's kind of chopped up as far as state goes sometimes. But our friend of the show, longtime friend of the show, Terry the Rocker Lawler and Sean Nelson have just been kind of going back and forth for this GCW title to the point that finally we're going to do 2 out of 3 falls. Best man wins for that Georgia heavyweight championship. And look, Terry Lawler's brought some, he brought some prestige to that title because he's been defending that thing everywhere, anywhere and everywhere, week in and week out.
Never ever tell my wife that Terry Lawler's the reason we are doing this. Terry Lawler's the guy that got us involved in indie wrestling. We probably would have stopped this podcast a long time ago if it not have been Terry Lawler. One of the nicest people I've ever met, one of the best people I've ever met, one of the most loved. I had never heard anybody say a bad word about Terry Lawler. Have you, Nick?
No, if they do, they lose a lot of respect. That's my take.
Yeah.
And
Damian Bennett versus Jacob Ashworth. Ashworth, one of the most popular men in Georgia wrestling. So this is a good deal.
Yeah, look, I've got to see Jacob Ashworth work a couple of matches this past weekend. Talk to him. He is absolutely in that, especially the North Georgia area. He is one of the most popular guys in and out. Damian Bennett's been a friend of the show for a long time, and I, for one, am happy Damian Bennett's back. Whether his behaviors are, ones we condone or not, doesn't matter. I like Damian Bennett. I enjoy wrestling with Damian Bennett in it. So kudos, and I would, that one's actually, this is the match that kind of has me tugged at maybe GCW if the weather holds off. Maybe it's where we go. Look, you brought up Luke Da Silva. He's going to be on that card, unrated tag champs over there. So again, that is, Buckhead, Georgia, this Saturday. Go check them out, man. Bell time is at 7, door 605. Last show of the weekend before we get wrapped up here, Action Wrestling back on Sunday, back at Das Barbecue. It's a free show, full bar, 4 p.m. on a Sunday. Look, it's got The Wall, Dylan McQueen, Teriyaki, a bunch of people more. You know how I like to sell it? I'm going to try to sell it to my wife on Sunday is, hey, I like barbecue, like a little side of action with my barbecue, get a little wrestling. Come on. You can get a drink while we're there if you want to. I think that's a win-win. I'll drive home. You let me watch the wrestling. You can have the drink, and we'll eat some good barbecue. So if that doesn't sell you on it, man, I don't know really what will, Myron.
Yeah, that's a good deal. I'm worried I'm going to have limited mobility this weekend, so I'll probably wind up over at Gwinnett. They don't call it the Gas South Convention Center in order to see Sergeant Slaughter at Joe Fest or whatever they call that thing. I'm hoping I can get out to wrestling. It's just going to depend on how my driving situation is.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
What? If you go to Joe Fest, how about you do record some footage on your phone, walking around, maybe even get some, like when you're talking to Slaughter, get him to do something a little bit that you can put over on tappedoutpod.com, which is our YouTube channel, which you make sure, please go to the channel, like it, subscribe to it, notifications on, so that way when we're dropping stuff, you're getting it, you're not missing anything. But also patreon.com/tappedoutpod. You get to look, we give you the shows early. You're getting the show notes now. Only the paying, the private members get the notes. You never know why. There's some notes sometimes that get put in there that I'm like, oh yeah, we didn't talk about that. Little tidbits. Sometimes the crowd sizes are in there because we're not a big crowd. Like, hey, the crowd only drew this, or the crowd. We try to like just kind of be. It's a trend. It's not like an importance as far as just the number per se. A lot of times those numbers get into those show notes. So
hashtag Goodman.
Yeah, it's like I know there's some look, I just don't think I think they matter. They're a tool, not the tool. I can't repeat that enough, to say the least. So
they only matter to the promoter as far as their draw and how much money they make in order to continue they're making their show run and pay talent. As long as they can do all that, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I agree. That's it is. I think they matter, but it's not like if you're.
That's none of my business.
It with what we do, I think it kind of is a little, but like I said, I just think if your budgets are matching it up, anyway, I don't even want to talk about it. It's like that's that big, but that's the show note stuff in there, the extras, and then like there's right now a lot of people have like I've gotten hit up a lot of it. People like the this or that segments. There's one over on Patreon that is not out yet on I aired it for a reason on our Patreon first. It's this or that with Carly Bravo. It's over there behind the paywall. It will make it to air at some point, maybe, if I can edit it out. And I'm going to leave it out why it's got to be edited out. But Carly Bravo's a blast. And, look, maybe more stuff down the road. And I even wanted to see if maybe we can get some stuff that we did the other night, get that recorded and get it up there. So, well, man, that's everything I have for this week, Myron. You got anything else before we bail out of here this week?
Nope, folks. If you ain't watching it on TV and you ain't watching it live right now, you're missing out. If you can't afford to go to Bad Blood, we got a list of shows running you can afford to go to. There ain't no sense in staying home all the time, folks. It's good on television, but it's a lot better in person.
Yeah, and we get it, folks. Look, it's going to be a tough weekend here in Georgia with the weather and everything, but by Saturday, hope it's cleared up. So go out and see a show on Saturday, if nothing else, and we'll have to keep an eye on Fridays because we obviously want you to be safe. Be safe going out to the shows. And then, of course, like I said, action's there at Das Barbecue on Sunday, so you could always get out to a late weekend one on Sunday and get you something to eat and, some wrestling. So, well, man, that's all I got. Is that it for you, buddy?
Man, I'm just about expired on all this information.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.